Welcome back to this discussion on Health Digest, and today we are looking at teenage pregnancies and early motherhood. And just before the break, we continued with the story of Lucy and what she went through during her schooling years and what she had to go through to make it through school, which is not always the case for other women or other girls who have gotten pregnant early before they have finished school. And with me to continue this discussion is Dr. Ann Kihara, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. She's a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. Also, Josephine Achieng, who is a youth advocate. And last but not least is Dr. Susan Gitau, who is a counseling psychologist. And just before the break, we were talking about harm reduction. We've seen Lucy's story. And I would like you, and I think I'll throw it to Dr. Susan Gitau. What is harm reduction? It may sound like a big word. So what, for the audience, what is harm reduction?
Anyway, you know, World Health Organization will always come up with words that come all the way from up there to the grassroots. It simply means prevention. But it is more comprehensive in the sense you can have many programs running, many stakeholders taking their little bits, and you can also have many policies joining up. Like you can have HIV stakeholders coming on board. We can have family stakeholders, educationists like us coming on board. And when we narrow down to the issue of harm reduction, especially among teenagers, we can think about life skills. Yeah. That life skills education in schools, believe you me, because I participated in developing positive discipline manual and I had interaction with teachers who were on the ground. They also say, we never went through this. So how do we give what we never got? So capacity building for teachers to make that life skills education practical in school. When you talk about comprehensive sex education, again, she's lucky. She went through the program. There are some girls, especially in the rural setup, in the informal settlements, they actually don't know what this is. True. So we need capacity building. We also need to have strong peer counseling and peer educators groups. Because these people, when you empower them, you'll be amazed. See, they have taken Lucy as a peer educator. Why? Because when she gives her story to her peers, it comes more alive, other than I going to say, there was a girl called Lucy, and she went through this and this. When she becomes herself a role model to the others. When you talk about family empowerment, I'm happy because she said she got support when she became a mother at 21. What about very many other weather? When you get pregnant, there is no support. It's all about you. So you find somebody getting depressed, somebody becoming like they look at themselves negative. So the next man that shows up and shows some little interest, you go to them, but actually don't know what you're going for. And then they realize they're also getting somebody who is dependent, who needs attention. They will walk away and run away from you as soon as possible. So when you talk about family empowerment, it's very important. What about community empowerment? Again, I'll be very happy when I'll have men coming up and saying, protect the girl child and educate the girl child in terms of their sex and sexuality. Because we are trying to get them on board. In fact, we're trying to get even men who can say I impregnated somebody at this age. They don't want to come out. Men, please come out. Come out. So that we have men for women, or we have boys for girls, or young men for young women. And when we see them coming out, somebody shares that how threatening it was, because it's even more threatening when it's a young person. For the senior men, when they pregnate young girls, they intimidate them. The parents are also intimidated if it happens to be a senior person in the society or a powerful person in terms of social status or economic status. So you will find they will keep quiet, and the person that gets harmed and silently dies is that
girl. And you've mentioned just apart, the girl is the one that bears the brunt and the larger burden of getting pregnant, where the men are almost walking scot-free. And I want to just hear from Josephine, from a youth and adolescent point of view. What does early pregnancies and early motherhood do to the girl child or do to young persons?
I'll use myself as an example. Let's say I get pregnant at this point. First of all, I'd be scared of telling my parents, Because they'll be like, instead of asking you what really led to you being pregnant, the first thing they'll think you are immoral. So the moment they brand you immoral, you'll be stressed up, you'll be depressed. And then your friends, you know how Lucy felt like their friends, they don't feel like they are of the same age group. Because you're a mother.
She's a mother.
Yes.
And they are different
they are young
calibers.
people, yes. So you'll feel like you're not part of the society, or you're not part, you don't have the support system you need. Your friends will abandon you. They'll feel like most of them say, hey, uni mama, atutaki kutembea na wa mama, you know. And then once I get pregnant, I'll feel bad going back to school. Because some of them feel like if I go to school, the teacher will be like, if you try to like, give your point of view, they'll be like, sasa huyu mama anatuambia ni, you know, such things. Yeah. So I wouldn't feel comfortable going back to school. For Lucy, it was good. She went back to school. For most of us, if it were me, I wouldn't even bother going back to school because of the stigma. And then when you're walking, people are like, you know, such things. In as much as most of us are strong, some of us are not. It depends with your self-esteem and how your parents raised you. But for some of us, our parents raised you like, you're only supposed to go to school, finish high school, go to university, get a degree. So that's the only trend. They don't even talk to you about your health, growing up. Yes, when you're this age, you'll go through this. No, they don't. They don't talk to you. Yeah.
That's a refreshing point of view from a young person. And I want to escalate it from a medical point of view. The young girl getting pregnant is a high-risk pregnancy.
Yes.
What are these risks that they face directly as they get to go through the pregnancy and even delivery and after delivery?
Okay, just as much as they've said there's stigma associated with it, the girl grapples with, do I keep it or don't I? So for the girl who says, I don't want to keep this pregnancy, unsafe abortions is really a major problem. And unsafe abortion meaning what? You will go to a quack in the back street, or even maybe have a skilled attendant, but you're being given that service where it's not appropriate. And you'll end up bleeding, you'll end up with infection, you may have gadgets that are introduced into your body in the reproductive system that would entail you going to surgeries, even maybe losing your uterus or losing your life. So that's a big, big problem. Just looking back at a few statistics, you will find out of almost 17% who end up getting an unsafe abortion done, severe complications have been very well documented in up to almost 50% of those girls that are in the youth and adolescent population. The other problem is, I will keep the pregnancy. Have I access to care? We're lucky now, we have the free maternity policy and the Linda Mamas to help us, and to help particularly the adolescent. But do they actually feel that they're acceptable? Can they afford the costs of getting that care? And then issues pertaining to, these are the same girls who will have premature deliveries by virtue that they don't eat right. Their body is a baby carrying a baby, so it's already at a point of immaturity from the onset. So even the environment for this child that you are carrying, there are issues in terms of the baby growth. And for some, even the baby may die while still in utero. Then we have clear problems at the point of giving birth. Small pelvis, you get obstructed labor. If you don't get a cesarean section, there is a problem. You end up with fistulas. So you find between 58 to 80% of these teenagers may end up with a fistula. And that's leakage of urine in your reproductive system, or leakage of both urine and feces. So that only culminates to give her even a more lower self-esteem, and then the toil of having to now look for repair for that. Now, coming to the baby, this is a baby who started from a point of disadvantage, if I may put it that way. The incubator, who's the mummy, is a baby, physically, mentally, psychologically ill-prepared for this event. So you may end up with a baby that may not even get the bonding and the love that you would expect it to get when a woman really wants that pregnancy. Then secondly is the risks of infections for that baby. We are not even mentioning that HIV and STDs also carry along with sex. So this can still be propagated to this little baby. And unfortunately, much as we've talked about mothers dying, even the babies do die. either because they've developed STIs or STDs that carry on, or you actually find the baby's dying from malnourishment because it's critical. Once I have a pregnancy, breastfeed this child. Give the baby the optimal environment. But here's a girl who's even battling with, do I stay out of school? Do I go back to school? So these are some of the problems that we do experience among such mamas.
Okay. And it's really unfortunate that this still continues, because in South Nyanza, for example, we found mothers as young as 12 in the registry coming for antenatal care. Yeah. And some of these mothers, actually looking at them, and where they were, with no doctors and no theaters, you wonder how they will get to deliver. And we've had cases of actually these teenage mothers getting those complications you've talked about, or even losing their lives. Susan, you're a counseling psychologist. When these adolescents or with their parents come to you, what is their biggest issue, and how do they cope with all this that we have mentioned?
Right. Depression is high on the list, even the post-traumatic stress disorder, and especially the postnatal depression. They get it because, postpartum depression. You realize that, like she has said, you are not ready to be a mother. Even in the inside, you're feeling you're young, you're a teenager. There's a very big conflict within. And even for the mothers, especially for the single mothers, I have seen them also sharing vicarious PTSD with their daughters, or vicarious depression, if I would call it, because there's a lot of stigma. Believe you me, the girls I'm working with, they even told me when they were giving birth, the medical health, the caregivers, they are nasty to them. And they tell them things. Where badala ya kusoma ulikuja kuzaza, you know. And I think it's the high time we became compassionate. When you're compassionate, you also develop empathy. You want to find out why. Believe you me, hearing them share, it's not easy. Even my fellow counseling psychologists were telling me, I think we need debriefing every now and then, every time we are with those girls. Because they tell you stories. Some of them it was rape. Some of them it is out of maybe they, you know, poverty. Like people from poverty. They don't use their cognitive more. They use their limbic system. The limbic system is more of a feeler than a thinker. So you have a lot of impaired judgment among these people. And believe you me, even when I am also trying to fight for these girls, ask me where I am. I haven't gotten any support from local administration, and I have informed them. I have not even gotten help from political women leaders, and I have told them this and this is happening. And I'm liking what she's saying, evidence-based. I was only able to do 3 informal settlements because of maybe the limitation in finances. I think we need to do it nationwide. And it is going to scare the government and the leadership of this nation. In fact, the 1 out of 5 you're talking about, let them know literally where it is and
because
why.
These are 20% of 10 to 19-year-olds in the country, the girls, 20% of them.
And you can sit there thinking everything is okay.
It's okay.
It is not okay.
In fact, I think it's important we tease out. We have the more vulnerable adolescent.
That's it.
So those in the urban informal or informal settlements, those who are living with HIV, because we do have adolescents with HIV, does it mean that they cannot become mothers? Those who are in the labor markets, because we do have a lot of child labor still existent in pockets in this country. Those who are actually orphaned because their parents died off. Because where is the bottom line? You know, you look at all those little cliques on groups, poverty becomes so eminent. And so unless we take charge of addressing why and how to reduce poverty within particularly the youth, who unfortunately or fortunately in this country are the majority. 64% of the Kenyan population is under 24 years. And we must begin to articulate it, even politically, that for national development, the youth must be given a voice. An unhealthy youth, definitely, you will not get development.
Will be an unhealthy country.
And yet, at the top there, you're talking about, oh, there'll be the demographic dividends the youth is supposed to give. How do you possibly do this if we're not articulating their health issues? And more the sexual, reproductive health.
I want us to just listen to the last bit of Lucy's story, then we can now get your closing comments on what actually needs to be done, what is being done currently, and what needs to be done more in order to address the issues of teenage pregnancy. So I would just want to listen to the rest of Lucy's story, what her ending is, and what she aspires for herself. Take a listen. Lucy's has been an ordinary journey in Sega, Siaya, but she is determined to live a different life. The young mother of two works as a volunteer at Matibabu Foundation as a youth peer provider.
Now that I got pregnant while I was still a youth, and I knew the situations which youths go through, I felt the interest to help others not go through the situation that I went through.
Lucy wants to train as a nurse, and with her good grades, it's difficult to see what can stop her.
Si unajua ukishapitia hiyo nini situation ndio utajua kumbe si mchezo. Mimi bado tu ninataka tu nifanye nursing.
That is Lucy's story and what her aspirations is. Lucy with her C+, despite having been pregnant during her final year of exams, still wants to become a nurse. And back to my panelists as we wind up this discussion. After a woman or a young girl has gone through this experience, is society accepting of them back so that they can continue and be whatever it is that they want to be? As you can see with Lucy, she's having a difficult time even trying to find where to pursue her dreams, yet she qualifies to actually do that. Is society accepting of these women and getting them back and enabling them to achieve their full potential? Dr.
I don't think we're doing enough. And I think partially because we're taking this from a very siloed approach. She was in education, she dropped out of school, she's now become a mother. We need an intersectoral approach to a very complex, it's not as simplistic as it's been put, but to a very complex situation. That's one. Number two, I must mention the issue of healthy recreation. We are yet, as Kenyans, to embrace activities that youth can undertake and be engaged in, which then keeps them off sexual advancements. And the third thing for me is youth-friendly services. They're nicely placed in place, but the practicality, even evidence has shown only about 10% are functional entities. And last, I want us to give the adolescent their voice. They are living it, they are walking it. It's for us to walk with them and not walk at them. That's what I would actually say.
Okay. Josephine, we are giving you this voice that Dr. is talking about, giving the adolescent this voice. So this is your chance.
I think it's high time, like the policymakers and our parents stop assuming like they know what is good for us. Come ask us. We'll tell you what you need. Stop saying we know what the young people need, we know best. Yes, we get that you know best, you have the experience, but we are the ones experiencing this firsthand. So stop assuming you know what's best for us. And please, we need to be at the decision-making table. There's no you tell me you're writing a policy concerning us, that's the return to school policy, and we were not involved. You just come to us saying, we need a young person to sign. So we just sign and leave it at that. We need to be at the decision-making table. So we tell you, this might work, this might not work for us. So it's high time you do things with us, not without us. Nothing for us without us. Involve us kindly, because we are the ones being affected. We have the solutions to give you guys.
And specifically the question that I'd asked Dr. is society accepting of a girl who has gotten pregnant and delivered, or even maybe had an abortion or had a miscarriage? Is society accepting of this young girl back and embracing them just like any other girl?
Not really, because even your parents will not even look at you the same way they did before. So I don't think they are being integrated.
The parents are here.
Yes.
Yeah.
They won't even look at you the same way they did before. They were like, you're so innocent, you're so nice, but once you give birth, they'll be so, I don't know, they'll just look at you in a very funny way. You won't be treated the same way, even the society. You'll be deemed as immoral. And then they will tell you, like, your friends, they'll tell you, don't work with her. She's bad. She's a bad influence. She'll teach you bad things. You know, so you're not being accepted back in the society.
Wow. And
Dr.
it's a
Susan.
big challenge for parents and the family. And let the family know, if the society rejects your girl, you should be the first one to accept. And for mothers, because we've been wired, she is a medic, we've been wired with oxytocin, nurturing hormones. So we cannot say we are not naturals. Mothers, we are naturals. And for the single mothers who have had their girls become pregnant, I want to tell them it's possible they can empower them.
Yeah.
So we have not done enough, that's for a fact. When I'm also seen with these teenage mothers, I am told I am encouraging teenage motherhood. In fact, there is one person who told me, I will not come to your forums because it empowers, like, we are trying to encourage them to get more pregnant. But when we talk about the harm reduction, we need to educate them. In fact, when they hear such stories from a medic, even the ones who are not pregnant and they are sexually active, they start looking for ways to change their behavior. Coming to the nation, believe you me, anything that starts from the top leadership in this country works. And that's why maternal health has actually really become what it is. We also need a similar approach. Mama care for adolescents. We actually need that for harm reduction. And believe you me, it goes all the way to the grassroots, where we have the Nyumba Kumi initiative working. And I think when I look at Kenya and why our policies don't mature into maybe implementation and giving us fruits, it's because we ignore the systems approach. We need to know how different sectors interplay, how different disciplines interplay, including the faith-based organizations and the NGOs. I always say, I commend the NGOs because they're normally the first ones to show us how to do it practically. But the truth is, as a country, we can't keep relying on donor funding. What do we have?
We need to have more self-sustainable projects and initiatives.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking your time, ladies. It's unfortunate that we didn't have a gentleman here today to lend voice to this discussion. But thank you very much for your time. We have been discussing teenage pregnancies and early motherhood. And with me on this panel was Dr. Ann Kihara, to my immediate left, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi and a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. Also, Josephine Achieng, who's a youth advocate with Advocates for Youth and Adolescent Health. And last but not least is Dr. Susan Gitau, who is a counseling psychologist and a lecturer at African Nazarene University. That's where we end this discussion on Health Digest on teenage pregnancies and early motherhood. Join us next Saturday for the same discussion. And this time around, we'll be looking at unsafe abortion as a consequence of these early pregnancies, of this early motherhood. From me and the rest of the team here that has made this show possible, I want to wish you a very good night and a blessed Sunday. I'm Dr. Mercy Korir. God bless.